read on similar subjects to this, you really can't read those books or listen to those people because these people don't know the information, and the evidence is that they don't know it, is that just look at their own life. They haven't achieved what they're teaching. When it comes to making money, the people that are reading books on how to make money don't have any money, they haven't made any money, and the only money that they've made is by selling books on how to get rich. So they haven't done anything in real life. It's all theory. The super wealthy that write books, quote, don't write the books, don't even know what's in the books. And if they did, they're not going to share with you the true information anyway, because they have a basic belief that this information should not be shared to the general public. And they don't want to do that because they don't want the competition. So who do you listen to? I would suggest the information you're going to get this weekend is valuable. Why? Because it's not coming from me, an individual guru. It's coming from the collective amount of information from the secret societies. And we have here as members, 33-degree member of the Freemasons. We have members of Skull and Bones that have come forward. First time ever in history that members of these secret societies have come forth. Obviously, they're not making themselves known to the public, but the first time these people have ever come forward and releasing this information and sharing this information, and they're backing me up on releasing this information. Myself and the Brotherhood and some of the other secret societies, the Illuminati and so forth, we have members now part of this group that are taking this information and sharing it with you. So this information, I think, is the purest information you'll get on this subject and how to make money tomorrow. How do you know? Look at the evidence. And obviously those here can see the evidence, but this information obviously works. It has worked better and faster, has the longest track record, most amount of history, but most importantly, the evidence is real. You can see it. It's not myth. It's not fantasy. So who do you listen to? Talked about the teachability index. How teachable are you? What is your willingness to learn on a scale of 1 to 10? And what is your willingness to accept change? So anything on those two basic points? Question? Yes. Question was about other books written, and question was specifically about some of the great books out there that give stories that maybe the person who wrote the book isn't super wealthy. They don't claim to be, but they claim to be a teacher. And are those books good? Because those people maybe don't have the desire to become billionaires. Therefore, if they don't have that desire, there's nothing wrong with that. But can't we listen to what they're saying because that information sounds really, really good? That's a very good question. And here's the answer. When you read books, and I'll give you one book, The Celestine Prophecy, and you read books like that, these books tell stories that never happened. Isn't that true? These books give you a myth. They are a book that is a fable. It is a story about a non-existent person in a non-existent place where non-existent things happen. These are not biographies. These are not autobiographies. These are made up stories, and there's no secret that they're made up. The authors have some convoluted, whacked out theory of how success works, how the physical universe works, how Earth works, how the universe works, how energy works, how success works, how happiness works, how manifesting dreams and desires work. They have this theory of how these things work. And it is a theory. And in order to prove their theory, they haven't done it themselves. So what they say is, I don't want. I have no desire. So don't look at me. I have all the desires of my life. And that's maybe true. Maybe they do have all the desires of their life, which is fine. They all have very small desires, though. They all have small dreams, which I think is a little bit interesting. Something called justification. I don't want a big house. I like my small house. I don't want a new car. I like my 15-year-old car. Sometimes we justify that we don't want something when in fact it's because we believe we can't get it. So these people have these ideas about how this stuff works. And in order to teach it, they have to make up a story about a person and how this person goes through their made-up life and how things happen in their made-up life, which prove this person's theory is true. And we read this book and maybe it's really, really well written and we like the book and it's a great book. We enjoy it. Problem is, it never happened. The story you're reading about is made up. And again, it's no secret it's made up. They're not trying to, convince you that it's real. It's a fable. It's a myth. It's a made-up story. They say, well, I'm using this as an example. It can't be an example because if their theory of how things happen are true, why do they have to make up a story? Why can't they just point to a real person and share with you a real person's story and give a real life example of that happening? The answer is because there isn't a real person who ever achieved their desires in the manner in which these books are presenting. The information in the books are fake. The recipe is fake. The recipe for success doesn't work, because if it did work, they would have a real life example. Does that make sense? Yeah. That's why I brought you here, so you could meet real people. And we're not talking theory. We're going to be sharing with you real experiences in the real world. And everything that you're taught this weekend, the examples that you're going to be getting are from real people, not a myth, not a fantasy. That's the big difference. And that's a very good question. Any other questions? Yes. Teachability index. Okay. All right. For those of you on the CD that can't hear the question was on teachability index. The question was, how do you know that you have a high teachability index? How can you know that you have a high willingness to learn? And how can you know that you have a high willingness to accept change? Maybe you think you have a high willingness to learn, but you really don't. There's two answers to that. The first answer is, what are you willing to give up? What's your favorite thing? This is a simple test. If one of your favorite things is golfing, are you willing to put the golf clubs away for a year? Are you willing to, if your favorite thing is watching TV, are you willing to not watch TV for a week? Or if you watch X number of hours a night, are you willing to cut down to 1 hour a night or half an hour a night? What's your favorite TV show? Let's be real specific here. What's your favorite TV show that you have to watch all the time? Are you willing not to watch it for a year? That'll tell you what your willingness to learn is. What's your favorite thing? Are you willing to give it up? That'll really tell you what your willingness to learn is. Now the question is, what if I want a high willingness to learn, but I just can't seem to motivate myself to give up the things I love the most? Can I still have a high willingness to learn? The answer is yes.
It's about to get good, fam. All right, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Grand rising and happy Thursday. I am so happy and grateful to be on this call with each and every single one of you guys. I hope all of you are having a blessed morning. I know I am. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling aligned. I'm feeling connected. It's a gorgeous day. It's nice and sunny. And I'm feeling really good, man. Big, happy smiles. Yes. Because life is good. Life is amazing. Life is getting better every single day. And that's what we are all grateful for. And, I had a really good morning routine this morning. Type a 7 in the chat box if you did your morning routine today. You got your morning routine in. You made sure that you worked on yourself this morning. You made sure that you worked on yourself, and you just really put yourself in a position to reach your optimum state, like we talked about the other day. We got to put ourselves in a state of mind where now we can go out and attack the day to the best of my ability, right? How can I put myself in the best state of mind so that when my day starts, I feel the best? I am vibrating at the highest. I already poured into myself. I did my workout. I did my morning routine. I prayed this morning. I practiced my gratitude. I wrote my goals down, right? I am so clear on what I got to do these next few days, these next few hours, in order for me to have a really good productive day. So super excited to be on this call. It's something that I'm always looking forward to whenever these calls start. So really looking forward to it. Now my kids doing meditation and morning routines. Yeah, the kids is always gonna follow what you do, and there's nothing better than having your kids, at an early age applying this kind of, principles to life, which is, so valuable. And I'm glad that a lot of you guys have taught your kids and people around you guys these principles, because these are principles that are life changing, and they really do help a lot. So I'm excited. But before we get the call started, today we're going to be talking about basics. What is one thing that you guys are grateful for this morning? Type it in the chat box. I am grateful for God. I am grateful for His grace. I am grateful for my health. I am grateful for my mom, my dad, my little brother, my goddaughter, Dariana. I'm extremely grateful for my team, the leaders within my organization. I'm grateful for everyone in Leadership Dynasty. I'm grateful for the books I read. I'm grateful for the audios I'm listening to. I'm grateful for my mentors, Matt Rosa, Jason Brown, Darwin Lopez, Alex Morton, Matt Gribby, Sean Murphy, right? I'm grateful for the roof over my head. I'm grateful for the food I'm eating on a day-to-day basis. I've been eating really healthy lately. I'm grateful for the money I earn on a weekly basis. I'm grateful for my Mornings with Nano community. I'm grateful for Sana. I'm grateful for Jasmine. I'm grateful for, um, the systems in my body, right? I'm grateful for wisdom. There's so much to be grateful for, guys. So, always remember, spread gratitude, because it's something that, we must always spread, because that's the maximum way in order for you to, put yourself in that peak state on a day-to-day basis. So let's get started with today's call. A lot of you guys are familiar with what I'm going to be talking about today, but I wanted to make sure that it was something that I teach again, because I believe that this is something that should be taught every once in a while, just to remember what the basics are. And I think that, this is something that I teach at least 4 times a year. Okay, I do my best to teach it at least once every quarter. The last time I taught this was, in the spring. I haven't taught it again this summer. And it's something that I always want to teach, because the basics is the foundation to everything. And sometimes we tend to forget what the basics are, but understanding that if I'm on this call right now and I'm telling you guys what are the basics, and you don't know what the basics are off the top of your head, if you can't tell me, okay, off the top of your head right now what the basics are, then you don't know the basics, right? And if you don't know the basics, that means you have no foundation. Okay, you don't know what the basics are, that means you lacking foundation, you lacking structure, you're lacking the beginner process of things. You're going out there and you're learning all of these things, but you really don't know the basics. Now I want to see how many people know the basics. Put a 4 in the chat box if you know the 4 basics, right? If you know the 4 basics, put a 4 in the chat box. Okay. Let's see if you really know it though. And what I mean by know it is that you know it off the top of your head. You can teach it. If I were to ask you right now, you know them off the top of your head. You can teach it. You're applying them. So we have some people, but we have hundreds of people on this call. Okay. And not many people know it. So the good thing is that I'm going to be reaching it here on this call, right? And I want to make sure that you guys know these things. And I want you guys to take this lesson very seriously, okay? Because this is something that you're going to learn over and over and over again. And I had to learn them over and over and over and over and over and over again in order for me to learn it the way that I have, right? So it's really 5 basics, but we're going to talk about 4, and then you guys will understand why there's 5. Okay, at the end of it, you'll understand why there's 5, but it's 4. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, right? The first basic is, who do you listen to? Okay, who do you listen to is the first basic. Okay, now remember, who you listen to determines a lot in your life. All right. Who you listen to determines a lot in your life. Now, I know that you guys know this and some of you guys understand this, but actually think about who you are listening to on a day-to-day basis. Who are the people that are pouring massive ingredients into your mind? Who is it? Okay, from the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, who are you listening to, right? Because remember, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so that way we can listen more than we speak. Okay, remember that. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. That way we can listen more than we speak. Okay, because remember, the ears are the gateway to your heart. And your heart gives you what you desire. Make sure you guys are paying attention here. You may know the basics, but I'm going to teach you guys things in between that breaks things down in a way that some of you guys may not understand it. So listen to that one more time. Okay. God gave us 2 ears. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. Okay. Because we need to listen more than we speak. Okay, we're going to listen more than we speak. Now, the ears, okay, these ears that we have are the gateway to our heart. What we listen to, it goes into our heart. And our heart gives us what our hearts desire, right? You guys have heard the quote, you'll get what your hearts desire. So if we're going to get what our hearts desire, there's a pretty good chance that who we listening to is going to play a major part in the things that our heart desires and what it creates. So this is something that we really got to understand, all right, because who we listening to is very important. And we have a lot of people around us. We have friends, we got family, we got coworkers, we have significant others. Okay, we have music people. We have a lot of people around us at all times. We have the news. We have Instagram. We have so many people in our lives who are pouring in massive ingredients into our minds. So who we listen to is the first basic, and it's probably one of the most important ones of them all. Because if the person that is giving you advice, the person that is giving you guidance does not have the results that you want, you can't listen to them and you can't accept their opinion. You don't disrespect them, but you got to know the difference between accepting and rejecting people's opinions, because whatever you say yes to becomes your reality. Let me give you an example. I've seen so many people quit this business that I am a part of because of the people that they've listened to, because their friends told them, yo, it's not gonna work. Everyone has failed, right? Don't waste your time. Go to school. Are you really gonna do that stuff? But if you look at the person that said that to them, all they're doing is installing their fears into that individual. And because that individual sat there and accepted that opinion, guess what now? Who he's listening to is messing him up, because he's listening to somebody that doesn't even have the results that he wants. He's listening to somebody that doesn't even have the results that he wants. And because he did that, guess what? He accepted that opinion, and now it became his reality. He doesn't believe he can do it. He doesn't think it's worth it. He thinks that it's corny. And guess what? It became his reality, and he became who he listened to. And still to this day, I see them hanging out. And if I look, and I'm not going to say who, because it's multiple of them, but they're still stuck doing the exact same thing. I've seen this hundreds and thousands of times. People who listen to the wrong people and they stay stuck together. Because, like we always say, misery loves company. If someone is miserable and they see you doing something that they don't feel like they can do, and they don't feel like they can accomplish, and they don't want to see you do better than them, they are going to project their fears, their limiting beliefs. It's not that they don't think you can do it. It's that they don't think they can do it. So because they don't think they can do it, they're going to tell you how you can't do it. So they don't want to see you go out there and do something that they can't do. And this comes usually from your friends. This comes from family. This even comes sometimes from your significant others. People telling you that you can't do something. And I want you guys to be very careful, and this is always a good reminder. Who are you listening to? Do you listen to more music than you listen to audios? Right? When you get in your car, is the first thought music, or is the first thought, let me play an audio, let me play a book, let me play a podcast? Because if your first thought is music, you have the wrong paradigm. If the first thing you do when you put on headphones is put music, you have the wrong paradigm. Not that you're not supposed to listen to music, because I love music as well. But what is the first thought? What are you listening to? Right? You're not in a position right now to be listening to music all the time. You're in a position now where you need new information, new ideas being poured into you each and every single day, day in and day out, no matter what. The moment I wake up and I do my prayer and I do my gratitude, I don't go play Drake, or I don't go play music. I play Bob Proctor. I play Kobe Bryant. I play mentors of mine. When I'm working out, I listen to audios. When I'm going to sleep, I listen to audios. When I'm in cars, I listen to audios. I'm always listening to the individuals that have the results that I want. That's what I listen to. And even people that don't have the results, even though some people may not have the results, I still listen, because there's a lot of people out there, okay, that have the information, but they don't have the results yet, because I've been there. The stuff that I am teaching you guys on this call, I knew this information when I was broke. But back then, people wouldn't listen to me because I didn't have the results. I had to create the results. So even though someone may not have the results, I still listen to see if the information is valuable or not. Because there's some of you guys on this call, okay, you know the information, you just haven't got the results. So I can listen to what you have to say. I can allow you to give me opinions, but I have to have discernment. I have to know, well, yeah, this comes from a good source, right? They learned this from here. This is not them. This is this book. This is this mentor. This is somebody. So you need to know who you're listening to. For example, you guys know I do this for my mom and my dad, for my family. Okay. I do this for them. But at the end of the day, my parents cannot give me advice on how to become a millionaire, because they are not millionaires. They love me. They care for me. They take care of me. They do everything else, but they cannot give me advice on how to become a millionaire if they don't have millions. So when it comes to advice on business, I can't take their advice. Can I listen to it? Can I sit there and be like, yeah, mom, of course, yep, but I can't accept it, because I know that she doesn't have the results that I want. I know my dad doesn't have the results that I want. Now, do they give great advice on other things? Absolutely. On life and certain things. But when it comes to a business, when it comes to the way new things are going about with life in general and with the new businesses, I know that they cannot give me the information that I need in order for me to create the results that I want, because they haven't been able to do it. Right? It's like them trying to teach me to climb a mountain that they haven't climbed themselves. I'm bound for failure. Right? When I graduated from college, okay, my parents were telling me to go get a job, right? Because that's a paradigm. That's the way of we were raised, right? We were raised, you go to school, you get a degree, you graduate, you go work a job. Now, I want to give a lot of credit to my parents. Let me tell you guys why. Because none of my parents finished school, but both of their sons did. Okay, so I give a lot of credit to my parents because they never finished school. Okay, but both of their kids got bachelors. And that's not something that can go unnoticed. It shows their level of sacrifice. It shows their level of awareness to what it was that they needed to do in order for us to make the best out of the situation that we had with what we had. So I give them so much credit. I give my parents so much credit. And it's funny because I thought about that the other day. I was sitting down and I'm like, bro, but both of us graduated. And a lot of people don't even get that opportunity to even say that they've graduated from college. And it's not something that I glorify or anything, but it still takes a level of discipline and consistency and, just sacrifice in order for you to graduate. As a matter of fact, if you got your bachelor's or more, put a 4 in the chat box if you've gotten your bachelor's degree or more, right? If you've gotten a bachelor's, a master's, a doctorate or more, right? Put a 4 in the chat box if you've gotten one, right? I want to see how many of us have actually gotten our bachelor's on this call. First college graduate, graduated this May. I graduate next year, right? But as you guys can see, just look at this though. Just look at the chat and look at the amount of people on the call. We got over 300 plus people on the YouTube. We have 100 people on. We have over 400, almost 500 people on right now. And if you look in the chat, there's less than 20, 30 people. It's less than 30, 40 people on this right now on this call that have actually gotten their bachelor's or more. Sit down and actually look at the numbers. Nothing against those that didn't, because at the end of the day, you don't need it to be successful. So I don't want you to think that I'm throwing shots at you guys. It's not that, right? But what I want you all to understand is that it takes a level of sacrifice. It takes a level of commitment in order for you to get your bachelor's. Okay, so that's, as even though it's not glorified in a way where all of these things, so on and so forth, but it's something that the qualities that are needed in order for you to get it are important. So you got to be careful who you listen to. Because if I would have listened to my parents, I would be working a job right now. I would be in corporate America somewhere working a job. I would have never been my own boss. I would have never traveled to 10 plus countries. I would have never found my passion. I would have never been doing mornings with Nano, because at 9 a.m., instead of me doing mornings with Nano at 9 a.m., I would have been on my way to a job and checking in at a job at 9 a.m. I would have never served my purpose. I would have never done everything that I'm doing now had I listened to my parents, my friends, my college teammates, everybody that told me, yo, go get a job. I said, no, I'm going to learn how to become my own boss. That was my choice. And that was a tough decision for me to make, but I made it. But I listened to the people that had the results that I wanted. So who are you listening to? Be very careful. That's basic number one. Basic number two is your teachability index. What is your teachability index? Your teachability index. Now, how do you determine your teachability index? Your teachability index is determined by your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change. Those are the two things that you must measure in order for you to find out what your teachability index is out of 10. So what is your willingness to learn is number one, right? When it comes to your teachability index. Now, how do you know if you have a high willingness to learn? Well, it's simple. Do you read every day? Do you listen to audios every day? Do you invest into courses and events? Do you have calls with your mentors? Do you go on learning lunches, right? And another thing, like we heard on the audio before this, are you willing to sacrifice one of your favorite things to do to start learning instead? Right? Are you willing to stop going out at night with your friends and stay home and read? Are you willing to get on a car, right? Instead of driving to work, listening to music, are you willing to sacrifice the music for an audio? When you're working out, are you willing to sacrifice the music for the time being and listen to an audio while you're working out? Are you willing to invest into books? Are you willing to sacrifice the money to go to an event or pay for extra mentorship? What is your willingness to learn, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you guys feel like? Now that I've said that, listen to it again. In terms of willingness to learn, do you jump on mornings with Nano 5 days a week? Do you read books? Do you listen to audios? Do you attend events? Do you sacrifice the things that you like for the things that you want to develop, right? If you were to do a scale of 1 to 10 on your willingness to learn, what do you think it would be? Type it in the chat box and be truthfully honest with me. Okay. Do you have a high willingness to learn? Where are you right now? Be honest. Okay. Be truly honest. I see some 8s. I see some 6s. I see some 5s, some 7s, some 3s, some 9s. There's some people dropping 10s in here that don't. That's a lie. Sure. Because I know you. I'm looking. Let's see. See some pretty high numbers. I see some pretty high numbers in here. So everybody, and I just want to make sure everybody that's dropping 8 and aboves. Let me just make sure that you understand this really quick. If you are dropping an 8 and above, okay, this means that you read every single day. That means that you listen to audios intentionally every single day. That means that you are on the calls every single day. That means that you make sacrifices and you invest into events, courses. You do one-on-one calls with your mentors monthly. You sacrifice music for audios, right? I want to make sure you guys understand this. Okay? You sacrifice hanging out with your friends instead of you sacrifice hanging out with friends to read. You sacrifice hanging out, taking out your girl for a weekend instead of going and then investing it into going into an event. This is important that you guys understand this. If you're not reading if you don't read every single day, you cannot say that you have a 8 and above when it comes to willingness to learn. Don't put an 8 and above if you don't read every single day. If you don't listen to audios every single day, and if you're not investing into yourself every day, do not put an 8 down there. If you haven't read at least, let's say what we have, so let me just see. If there's 4 weeks in a month, we're 7 months in. We're like 28, we're about 28 weeks into the year. If we divide that by 2, reading a book every 2 weeks, that puts us at about 14. If you are truly a learner, you have to have read at least, and this is with time, at least 10 books this year. Have you read at least 10 books this year? At least 2 books a month, or at least 1 a month. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I've invested 6 figures into my learning. As crazy as that sounds, believe it or not, I've invested 6 figures into my learning. For sure. For sure, I've invested 6 figures into my learning. I've invested so much money into books. But the thing is that, cool, you can have high willingness to learn, but that's not what makes the teachability index. What makes the teachability index is your willingness to accept change. That's what determines if you really have because you could I know people that read all the books, listen to all the audios, go to all the events, listen, do everything, but they don't change. So if you could have a willingness to learn that's a 10, but if you have a willingness to accept change of 0, what is 10 times 0, guys? If you multiply 10 by 0, what do you get? When you multiply 10 by 0, what do you get? You get 0. Because to know and to not do is to not know at all. So if you're not accepting the change from the things that you're learning, guess what? Your teachability index is low. And you know how you know if you have low teachability index? Based on your results. Because if you actually had been applying this information, you would have the results, right? I can say my teachability index, I wouldn't say it's a 10 overall, but I will say is 8 or so, 8 or 9. Why? Because I've learned, I've changed, and I've gotten the results. You see that? How can you get your willingness to accept change higher? Anna Rosa's asked in the chat. You have to apply what you learn. You have to accept the change from the information that you are learning. Give you an example, right? We talk about morning routine. That's the perfect example, right? Perfect example, morning routine. I talk about a morning routine every single day on this call. But if you don't have a morning routine, your willingness to accept change is 0. If you don't follow a solid morning routine, your willingness to accept change is a 0, which means your teachability index is a 0, which means that shows why you're lacking the results, because you have low teachability index. If you are on Mornings with Nano daily, you hear me talk about morning routines every single day, 5 days a week, 20 times a month, and you still don't have a morning routine, your ability to accept change sucks, which means you have low teachability index, and low teachability index leads to no results. Is the results you speak about only in business or in life? No, overall. Your business is part of your life. Both. What are the results? What are the results? So if you're not happy with your results, you have to go back. Okay, well, if I don't have the results, then that means I don't have a high teachability index. How can I improve that? Well, I need to learn, obviously, but most importantly, I need to accept change. Well, Nano talks about a morning routine. Let me get a morning routine done. Nano talked about I gotta do so and so. I gotta do it, right? Because I learned from Matt Rosa. I learned from Alex Morton. I learned from Matt Gribby. When they teach me something, I apply it right away. They have the results that I want. It's my little brother behind me, by the way. So we got to understand that this is so valuable. This is so valuable. Most people don't have the results and the life that they want because they have low teachability index. The reason why people who are listening to me on this call right now, the reason why you don't have the results that you want is because you have low teachability index. You would be so much further and you would have so much more results if only you had a higher teachability index. But your willingness to learn and your willingness to accept change are not high enough in order for you to get those results. You need to be willing to learn, but you got to be, most importantly, willing to accept the change that comes with what you learn. You don't think it was hard for me when I first started to learn about morning routines? That was hard for me, bro. Like I said, guys, I was somebody that was waking up 11 a.m., 12 p.m. in the afternoon. For somebody to come to me and tell me, I started learning in these books and from these successful leaders, like, yo, you got to have a morning routine. You got to wake up. You got to practice gratitude. You got to pray, right? You got to brush your teeth with your left hand. You got to write down your goals with your left hand. You got to read. You got to meditate. You got to visualize. I'm from Washington Heights. I'm from the hood. You tell that to a kid. I say that to kids. Yo, guys, I promise you, I say that to some people out there, and they look at me like I have three heads. They be like, bro, Neno, what are you saying to me right now? They're like, I'm not going to do that, bro. I hate reading. What is meditation, by the way? I'm not going to write my goals down. What do you mean write my goals down? They don't even know what practicing gratitude is. They don't even know what practicing gratitude. But the thing is that was me, though. That was me. What you mean wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, bro? You crazy? I love my sleep. But they don't understand. But that used to be me. I used to look at people like, man, y'all bugging, bro. There's no way I'm doing that. But guess what? I was broke. I was broke. No results. No nothing. But then I had to change. I had to be willing to accept the change. I started practicing gratitude. I started doing the reading and the meditation and the audios. You know how hard it was for me to give up listening to Drake and A Boogie and, you know, my favorite rappers. You know how hard it was for me to do that? It was tough. You know how hard it was for me to, instead of listening to Drake, I would have to listen to Jim Rohn now. I was like, man, this is different, but let's run it up. Let's run it. I need the results. I got to be willing to accept change. I have to be willing to accept change, right? When I met Alex Morton, one of the first things he told me, he said, if you want to be a chairman, okay, a chairman in my business means you make 6 figures. If you want to be a 6-figure earner in this business, you have to present the plan 5 to 6 times a week. I went from being somebody that never shared the plan to now having to change to somebody that was sharing the plan 5 to 6 times a week. That is accepting change. I have to be willing to accept that change. I went from being somebody that wasn't showing the plan to now showing the plan 5 to 6 times a week. Right? They told me that I had to post more content on Instagram. I went from being somebody that posted once every 3 months to being somebody that had to post 3 times a week, 4 times a week. They said, Nano, in order for you to create influence for people, you have to put your face on camera. I said, bro, I don't want to put my face on camera. My accent was I had a heavy accent too in the past as well. Right? 5 years ago, I have a, you know, obviously through time, and I still have an accent, but through time, my accent has improved. But bro, before it was a little bit heavier. Like you could really hear like that Spanish was my first language before. Now it's improved, obviously. But I used to be self-conscious of, you know, my voice and everything and all of that stuff, right? And guess what? I had to start doing it. They said, yo, if you want to be successful, you have to put your face on camera. You have to let people hear your voice, Nano. Guess what? I had to accept the change. I have to accept the change from what people were telling me. You understand how that works? This is so important. Everything that I was told I had to do it when it came to social media, when it came to everything, even when it came to building a relationship with God. I thought having a relationship with God was just praying and that's it. I thought just because I prayed, I had a relationship. And no, it was more than that. It was reading the word. It was tithing. It was going to church. It was building a community around it. It was speaking it. It was studying it. It was more than that. And I had to be willing to accept that change. And that's the reason why I have the results that I have today, is because I've been really good at accepting the change that has come with this journey. You have to be willing to accept the change that is being, you guys are given ideas every day, not only by me, but by your mentors, by people that, care about you. You are given ideas and things to change every day. But the thing is that you're not changing. So if you don't change, nothing is going to change. If you are still doing the same things from 6 months ago, you haven't changed. You haven't changed. Why do you think now I'm adding yoga to my morning routine, adding breath work to my morning routine? Because I have to be willing to accept change. Change. Night routines is change. Somebody told me, Neno, you need to have a night routine. I never had a night routine, bro. I never had a night routine. My night routine was chill, relax, and watch TV until I fell asleep, or fall asleep pointless scrolling on Instagram. Someone told me that 30 minutes before I go to sleep, I need to put my phone down, read 10 pages of a good book, write my goals down, and fall asleep listening to personal development. For 24 years of my life, all I've known is fall asleep listening to Sports Center or fall asleep pointless scrolling on my social media. And then somebody comes to me and tells me, yo, well, if you want to be successful, you got to put your phone down 30 minutes before you go to sleep. You have to write your goals down. You have to read 10 pages of a good book, and you have to fall asleep listening to personal development. I had to be willing to accept that change. You see what I'm saying? I had to be willing to accept change. And that's what a lot of people are missing. And that's why a lot of people don't have the success that they want, is because they're not willing to accept change. And that's basic number 2. That's basic number 2, which is, what is your teachability index? That's number 2. Basic number 3 is training balance scale. The training balance scale. What is that, Nano? Explain. Your training balance scale is determined by understanding that 90 to 99% of success is spiritual, and then only 1 to 10% of it is physical. Your training balance scale is understanding that success is more spiritual than it is physical. That is what the training balance scale is. Everything happens in the spiritual before it happens in the physical. Too many people focus on the physical, the work, not knowing that the spiritual is more important. Nano, what do you mean by the spiritual, though? When I talk about the spiritual, I'm talking about using your higher faculties, right? Who knows the higher faculties? If you know your higher faculties, how many higher faculties do we have? Type it in the chat box, right? How many higher faculties do we have? Who knows? Let's see how many people know how many higher faculties we have. Not enough people. Not enough people. There should be 300. There should be 400 people dropping down 6s right now. There should be everybody like that. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. There's 6 higher faculties, not 7. There are 6 higher faculties. Okay, 6 higher faculties. No, but what are higher faculties? Well, there are the physical senses, and then there are the spiritual senses, right? What are our physical senses? Our physical senses is what we see, what we smell, what we taste, what we hear, and what we touch. We have 5 physical senses, but then we have 6 higher faculties, which are the spiritual senses, which is our intuition, our perception, our will, our reason, our memory, and let me see. Let me do them again. Perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. Yeah. Some people got it in the chat box. Your intuition, your will, your reason, your memory, your perception, and your imagination. You got to know that. You got to have emotional intelligence down to the T in order for you to understand spirituality more. You got to have your emotional intelligence down to the T. You got to have your self-talk has to be key. Your connection with the source has to be key. I could run a whole training just on that, on just a training balance scale. I can run a whole training just on that. But you got to know that stuff, fam. There's a lot of you that haven't developed your higher faculties, and that's the reason why you haven't gotten the results yet. There's a lot of things that you still need to work on. Your self-talk hasn't been developed yet. Your emotional intelligence hasn't been developed yet. There's so much that you guys still need to work on before you can even get the success that you're actually looking for. Think about that. Let's talk about just higher faculties really quick. In your higher faculties, you have your imagination is one of them, right? How many of you guys are actually putting your imagination to work every single day? Right? We have your memory. How many of you guys are improving your memory daily? You have your intuition. How many of you guys have good intuitions when it comes to making good decisions? When it comes to knowing what energy is good and what energy is bad? How many of you guys have been developing your will? Right? We talk about willpower, right? If you say you're going to wake up early and you're going to wake up and you wake up at the time, that's developing willpower. Willpower is your ability to do the things that you said you would do long after the feeling is gone. It's important, right? There's so much stuff that, how's your emotional intelligence? Are you allowing the outside circumstances to affect your peace? If you allow the things that are happening on the outside affect you, you have bad emotional intelligence. If you allow your lack of finances to affect your actions, you have bad emotional intelligence. I'm sorry somebody had to say it, but it's the truth. If you allow the lack of finances in your life to affect your actions, you have bad emotional intelligence. It's the truth, because you're allowing the results, the external, to determine the things that you do. How's your self-talk? Do you use words like can't? Do you use words like try? What are the words that you're using? Do you understand your self-talk? What do you say to yourself when you talk to yourself? You understand what I'm saying? This is so important right here. This is so valuable right here, what I'm talking about. This is information that once developed could change your life forever. This is the information that I started to work on to change my life. When I learned about training balance scale and I thought about it, I'm like, oh my God, bro, my emotional intelligence sucks. So I need to work on that. I bought a book right away called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Right? I didn't know my higher faculties. I wasn't even developing them at all because we're not taught to develop them. Right? We're taught to make decisions based off of our senses. Right? We're taught to make decisions based off of our senses. But what does Bob Proctor say? Bob Proctor says, deny the senses. What you see, what you hear, sometimes deny them things. These are the basics. I'm teaching you guys the basics right now. Think about that. These are the basics that I'm teaching you guys on this call right now. This is the basic stuff, the easy stuff. It gets deeper. But if you don't know this, that's what I said. I'm like, yo, I'm focused on all these other things. Let me make sure I master the basics first. That's why I could run this training and I don't even need notes. I don't need, this is all up here. Everything I'm teaching you guys. This whole training is off the top. Think about that. Everything that I'm teaching you guys, everything that I've taught for the last 50 minutes to an hour is from the top. I didn't write none of this down. But why can I do that though? Because I know the information. I've applied the information. I got results with the information, and I've helped others do it as well. I've taught this information probably 100 times, 200 times. Because my mentor said, he said, you master the basics, you master your life. I said, say no more. I'm going to master the basics then. You said everything is spiritual, bet. I'm going to make sure that the spiritual side is success. And then I started to see that it was true. I was like, yo, this stuff is actually true. Like when I started to deny the senses, and I'm like, well, even though I was broke, I was saying I am rich, right? Using the affirmations. Even though I was living in my mom's house, I said, I'm going to live in a penthouse. I was able to visualize the things that I wanted, and I lived it. I went from being broke to making 30, 40,000 a month. I went from having no money to having a lot of money. I went from only traveling in the States to traveling the world. I went from, having, friends that didn't have much success to having friends that were the best in the world. I changed so much. And it was all because I understood the training balance scale. I understood the training balance scale. I said, well, since I've been focused so much on the physical work, forget the physical work. I'm good at doing the physical. Let me start focusing on the spiritual. So I bought spiritual books. I bought Asking It Is Given. I bought, what's another really good spiritual book that I love to read? Asking It Is Given. I bought The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, right? I started reading spiritual books. I'm telling you. Dope stuff. So that's number 3. And then number 4, so we could wrap it up, are the 4 levels of learning. The 4 Agreements is a good spiritual book. Purpose-Driven Life is a great spiritual book. The Feeling is a Secret is a great spiritual book. But so we've talked about we've talked about the first 3. We said number 1 is, who do you listen to? Number 2 is Teachability Index. Number 3 is Training Balance Scale. And number 4 is the 4 levels of learning. Now, there are 4 levels of learning. Let me break it down to you guys. First level of learning is unconscious incompetence. Okay, I'm going to break this down. The first level of learning is unconscious incompetence. All right, what does that mean? When you are unconscious, that means you don't know. And when you are incompetent, that means you don't do. So unconscious incompetent means you don't know and you don't do. A lot of the people that I talk to on a day-to-day basis, they are just unconscious incompetent. They don't know any better, so they can't do any better. Most people are probably at the first level of learning. Most people who lack results in life and who don't have the results that they want in life, they are just unconsciously incompetent, right? the people that know this information use this information to their benefit. And some people use it for good and some people use it for evil. Our government uses it for evil because he knows that they know that people don't know. So since people don't know, they can't do. It's messed up how this works, but it's the truth. If you don't know, you can't do. People don't know this information. They don't know this information. They are programmed to think a certain way, and because that's all that they know, that's all that they can do. They can only do what they know. But because they don't know, they won't do. They don't know that this information can change their life. They don't know that these businesses can change their life. They don't know that what they're listening to is programmed. They don't know that. My mom doesn't even know that. I try to tell them, but it's already too deeply ingrained. I'm like, Mom, you know that that's all fake, right? Everything that you see on the news. But they don't understand. They are unconscious, incompetent. They don't know, so they can't do. Okay? That's the first level of learning. The second level of learning is conscious, incompetent, which means you know, but you don't do. And this is another level where a lot of people are. There's a lot of people in my business that are conscious, incompetent. They're on the second level of learning. They know what they got to do, but they don't do it. They know they got to show the plan 5 to 6 times a week, but they don't do it. They know they got to do a morning routine, but they don't do it. They know they got to read, but they don't read. They know they got to eat healthier, but they don't eat healthier, right? They know, but they don't do. That is called conscious incompetent, which means you're conscious, but you don't do. The reason for most people's lack of results is because they are at the second level of learning. Shout out to my sis, Veronica. We got to do a podcast, sis, very soon. That's the reason for most people's failures. Put a 2 in the chat box if you know somebody that knows what they got to do, but they don't do it. We all know people like that. I'm going to put a 2 in the chat box because I know way too many people like that. Right? Look at how many 2s we get in the chat box now. But earlier when I asked for people to drop the 6 higher faculties, it didn't look like this. You see the difference? We all know somebody. And that somebody may be you. That somebody may be you. You know what you got to do, but you're not doing. You know what that's called? That's called the knowing and doing gap. I might have to do a training on this. I may have to do a training on this, the knowing and doing gap, which is probably the reason for most people's failures. People know what they got to do, but they don't do it. There's a gap in between. It's called the knowing and doing gap. That gap is what holds most people back. But that's a whole nother training. That's a whole conversation for a whole nother day. But most people are at level 2 of the levels of learning. Now, the third level of learning is conscious competent. Conscious competence, which means you know and you do. You know what you got to do and you're doing it. You know you got to do your morning routine and you do your morning routine. You know you got to be showing the plan 5 to 6 times a week and you're showing the plan 5 to 6 times a week. You know you got to do a night routine and you do the night routine. You know you got to eat healthier and you're eating healthier. You know you got to work out and you're working out. You know you got to develop a relationship with your creator and you're developing that relationship with your creator. You are conscious, competent. This is where you want to be. All of us, this is where we all want to be. This is where I am at right now. I am consciously competent. Okay? But don't get me wrong. There's also things that I am consciously incompetent about. I'll be honest with you guys. There's certain things that I know I got to do and I don't do them. right? We can all be honest. I don't want you guys to think that, oh, Nano got it all figured out. No, no, no. Trust me. There's some things that I'm working on myself that I know I got to do, but sometimes I don't do it. So I am, in certain areas, I'm conscious and competent. In other areas, I'm really consciously competent. I'm doing exactly what needs to be done over and over and over again. You want to be mostly at level 3 of learning with everything. That's where you want to be at. You want to be at level 3 consistently over time. You're consciously competent. You know what you need to do and you're doing it. That's number 3. And then the 4th level of learning is unconscious competence. Unconscious competence. What is unconscious competence? Is when certain habits and actions become second nature. You don't even got to think to do it, right? You don't even have to think to do it. You know what's an unconscious competent behavior is when you get in the car, putting on your seatbelt. That is an unconscious, you don't even got to think to do that, right? Next time you get in your car, think about that. If you're somebody who wears your seatbelt, which I hope everybody here wears their seatbelt, right? If you've been doing that since a long time, right? The moment you sit in that car, right? The moment you sit down, boom, in your car, you already know one of the first things that you do is put your seatbelt on, fix your mirror, whatever it is. Since you've done that so many times, that's my little brother in the back. Since you've done that so many times, okay, it has become second nature. So you don't even think to put your seatbelt on. When your sneakers are untied, right? You don't think to tie your sneakers. It's not like, okay, I gotta grab both laces, I gotta turn them around, I gotta scoop it, bunny ears, whatever. No, it's just it's a one thing. Boom, done. You don't even think to do it, right? It's automatic. You gotta get like that with the other habits in your life. You see how certain habits in your life are automatic? You gotta get like that with your morning routine. You got to get like that with habits in your business. You got to get like that with certain things in your life if you really want to be successful. You got to become unconscious competent with your morning routine, where you don't even have to think about waking up early to go do it. It's just wake up, let's go do my morning routine, let's run it. You know what's something that you guys are unconscious competent about? Waking up and grabbing your phone. I think that's something that we can all say that we are unconsciously competent about. There's a lot of people here. The moment those eyes open up, whoop, grab the phone. That's called unconscious incompetent. That's called unconscious competent. You don't even got to think to do it. You don't even got to think to do it. You got to understand this stuff, fam. This is so key, bro. It is the information that I'm teaching you guys right now is so key. And the thing is that you can be unconsciously competent about good habits and bad habits. Think about the people that are think about the people who are unconscious competent about bad things that are holding. That is just second nature to them already, to be the way that they are. Think about that. You can be doing unconscious competent actions that are driving you down the wrong. If you sit down and you think about it, if you look at certain people's results, and their actions and where they are in life, and you look at the 4 levels of learning, right? And you sit down and you think about it, you can, and if you study somebody, you can easily find out what they are unconsciously competent about that's holding them back. You can easily see it if you understand it. I'm telling you because I see it in people, right? When I see people struggling, right? I don't just see their struggle. I see everything else. I see, okay, the laws of the universe. I see everything. I see everything completely different than most people do. When some people tell me that they're struggling and that they're going through stuff, I don't just look at the struggle, because the struggle is the end result. Okay, what laws can I apply to their situation? What level of teachability index do they have? Who are they listening to? I always go back to the basics. What is their level of attention when it comes to the training balance scale? On what level of learning are they on? What is their emotional intelligence? What is their connection with their creator? I see it right there. I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. Now it makes sense. If I were to have a conversation with you, I could tell you exactly why you're going through the things that you're going through. Because it all goes back to the basics. Who do you listen to? Your teachability index, your training balance scale, and the 4 levels of learning. That's all I have to do. And then if I want to get deeper, we go into the laws of the universe, the law of cause and effect, the law of polarity, the law of transmutation. We go into the laws now. We go into the feeling is a secret. We start going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. We go into the higher faculties. Are you developing the higher faculties? Your connection with your creator, your emotional intelligence. Have you forgiven? We can go so much deep because there's so much we need to fix. You can even help somebody with the things that they're eating. I can tell a lot by somebody with the things they eat too. Believe it or not, it's so true. If you are not conscious enough of what you're putting in your body, then that just tells me that you don't care about so many other things. Think about that. If somebody's not conscious enough, if somebody knows that they got to eat better, but they're choosing not to eat better, what is that right there? Type it in the chat box if you know what level of learning that is. They know they got to eat better, but they're not eating better. What level of learning is that? They know they got to eat better, but they don't eat better. What level is that? They know they got to go to the gym, but they don't go to the gym. What level is that? I know that they are what? Consciously incompetent. They are conscious incompetent. They know they got to eat better, but they don't eat better. They know that the first meal of the day is important for it to be a nice vegan, natural vegan meal or so on and so forth, but they choose not to. So guess what? How you do one thing is what, guys? Finish it in the chat box. How you do one thing is what? If you do one thing like that, what happens later? It's how you do everything. So if you're consciously incompetent about that, there's probably a pretty good chance that what? They're consciously incompetent about other things as well. That's why I'm always working on the different areas in my life. Because I got to be conscious of what I eat. Because if even with this, that's what I'm saying. I got to be conscious with that, because think about that. I'm conscious about it. I can't be unconscious about it. I got to be consciously incompetent, right? Let's say I'm consciously incompetent about it. I got to start being consciously competent, because I'm like, I can't just continue to do this. I need to know, and I need to do. I need to love myself more to know this. I got to be able to choose from, would I rather eat this bacon, egg, and cheese, or would I rather eat this mushroom wrap? That was literally I had this debate yesterday when I went to lunch. When I went to lunch, I'm like, man, I kind of want a bacon, egg, and cheese, but that was the old me. That was the old me. The old me was, yo, get a bacon, egg, and cheese and get it with, some orange juice, the old me. That's what I would have got. Or, right, do I want to get this mushroom veggie wrap with an all natural green drink? and I was there, right? The old me would have said, Nano, just go with the bacon, egg, and cheese, bro. But the new me said, you know what, Nano, you know you got to eat better. You know you got to feed your body the right ingredients, the right nutrients. Go with the mushroom wrap and get your green drink. What did I do there? That is me being consciously competent about it. Now I haven't gotten to the unconsciously competent level with that yet because I haven't done it enough. You have to do it consciously competent over a long period of time in order for you to get that. Right? You got to know. You have to know with everything. With everything in life, bro, you got to know. You got to know when you're doing things that you're not supposed to do. Should I go to the gym or should I not go to the gym? I need to go to the gym. This is you being consciously competent. And if you don't go to the gym, this is you being consciously incompetent. You know you got to go, but you don't go. Guess what? Since you did this like this, since you are like this, that probably means you know you got to present the business 5 to 6 times a week. You're not doing it. You know you got to do your morning routine, but you're not doing it. And then what tends to happen is one of those things starts bleeding into the next, into the next, into the next, into the next, into the next. It's like those, I don't know if you ever seen those it's like an image of when one bottle fills up, then the next one starts filling up, and then after that bottle fills up, the next one starts filling up, and then the next bottle starts filling up. Because if you allow one thing, then it starts going on to the next one, and 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 to the next one. And that's why people end up being super consciously incompetent, because they allow one side to slip up and then everything else slips up. It becomes a domino effect. So be very conscious of this stuff. This is so important. That what I taught you guys today is probably one of the most important lessons that you will ever learn in your life. What I just taught you guys today. Those 4 basics are the most important lessons that you will ever learn in life. And then the 5th basic is master the 4. Master the 4. Those are the 5 basics. I have a podcast for this, and you could probably find it on my YouTube as well. I called it the 5th basic. And I gave it to you guys for free. But I know people that paid thousands for this information. These are the basics right here. And we all need this, including myself. Do not catch yourself doing the consciously incompetent things, because those are the worst. That's the worst place to be, because it's even worse to be there because remember, you know, and you're not doing. It's a difference when you don't know because you don't know any better. The first level of learning is unconscious incompetent. You don't know, so you can't do. So it's really not that bad because you don't know. The worst thing is knowing and not doing. That's the worst place to be is level 2. At level 2 is where most people live and they stay. That level destroys you. That level literally destroys you. That level has destroyed more dreams than any other level. Because you know when you don't do, you know what that does to you inside? You know how confidence, you know how much that breaks your confidence and lowers your self-esteem and puts you in low vibrations in a low place. I'm telling you, fam, it's not a game, the stuff that I'm telling you guys. This is real stuff. I'm giving you guys the real. All right. So those are the levels. These are the basics. There are 5 basics, right? The 5 basics are: number 1, who do you listen to? Number 2, teachability index. Number 3, training, balance scale. Number 4, 4 levels of learning. Number 5, master the 4 basics. Master the 4 basics. We all need to master them. I'm still working on mastering them. So if I don't have it, that means none of us have it, because trust me, I've been studying this for 3 years and I still haven't mastered it. Do I know a good amount of it? Absolutely. Can I teach it? Yes. Have I gotten the results from it? Yes, absolutely. But I'm gonna be teaching the basics 5 years from now. I'm gonna be teaching the basics I'm gonna be teaching the basics to my kids 20 years from now. The basics are always gonna be the basics, just like anything else in life. All right, fam. So if you guys got value from the 5 basics, put a 5 in the chat box. If you guys got value, I know this one was a little bit longer than usual, but love you too, fam. Appreciate you. I hope you guys got value from it. I appreciate everybody who jumps on the calls on a daily, weekly basis and gets value from them. These are the keys right here. The 5 basics to success. You master those 5, your whole life will change. Next time I see you, right? Next time I see any of you guys, I'm going to check you guys. Yo, what are the 5 basics? And you got to be able to tell me them with definitions. You got to be able to tell me them with definition. If I ever check you and you don't know the basics, then I know that you're not serious about your success. I'm going to start checking people. When I meet them for the first time, I'm going to start checking them like, what's the basics? Go ahead. What are the 5 basics? No, is number 4 levels of learning? Yes. Or levels of, but it's 4 levels. Yes, the 4 is the 4 levels of learning. So if I check y'all and y'all don't do it and y'all don't know it, then I know you guys are not serious. I checked one of my boys the other day. He was like, yeah, bro, I listen to KT and, I'm tapped in, my bro. I'm like, yeah, you tapped in for real? You've been listening to it? I'm like, yo, what are the 4 basics? He was like, I'm like, bro, you don't know the information, bro. Stop telling me you know. You don't know nothing. You're like, bro, I know them, but I just can't think about them right now. You put me on the spot. I think the first one is teachability index. I'm like, nope, that's not the first one, bro. That's not the first one. That's not the first. He was like, but it's one of them, right? I'm like, yeah, but it's not the first one, so you don't know it. So go back and study because you really don't know the basics. He's like, nah, you're right. I had to check him real quick because if somebody had to check me. Matt Gribby checked me. He was like, yo, Nano, what are the basics? And I got to 3, right? So this is what happened. When he checked me, I only knew the first 3 off the top. So I knew it was, who do you listen to? Teachability index, training balance scale. But I didn't know the 4 levels of learning off the top of my head. So I knew the first 3, but I didn't know the 4 levels of learning off the top. Like I couldn't tell him what the 4 levels of learning were off the top of my head. I didn't know them to the T. And then I was like, that encouraged me so much because I don't like to be checked. And when he checked me like that and I didn't know it to the T, I was like, bet. I went home and I studied that and I mastered it and I wrote it down and I said it to myself. I even tested myself. To see if I got it. And then I was like, bro, next time I saw him, I was like, bro, I know the basics now. And I told him, look, just check me on it real quick. And I went through it like I was a little kid. I was like, look, bro, the first one is this. The second one is this. The third one is this. The fourth one is this. And the fifth one is that. Boom. He's like, now you got it. Because I didn't want to be the one that got checked and didn't know what it was. Right? I didn't want to be that person that says, I'm doing it, I'm studying it, but then I don't even know it, So I challenge you guys to know it so that if you ever get checked, you know the basics. Okay. Is this based on a book? If so, no, there is no book for it, unfortunately, for the basics. All right. So, guys, with that being said, that wraps up today's call. I just got stuck for a little bit. With that being said, that wraps up today's call, guys. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, turn on the post notifications if you haven't. Share this with somebody who you feel like needs it. Let's continue to run this up, learn this information. I'm going to pray for us really quick, and then we're going to wrap it up. All right. Quick prayer. Everybody bow your heads and let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for blessing us with this beautiful Thursday morning that's filled with your grace and your abundance. We are so thankful for you allowing us to learn the basics this morning. We understand how important it is to learn the basics. We understand that the basics is the foundation of our success. It is the basics of where we got to start in order for us to grow to where we want to go to. And a lot of us needed to hear a lot of that information, including myself and everybody on the call. We all needed to remind ourselves of the basics, because sometimes we get so caught up in the other things in life that happen and the outside circumstances that we forget that at the end of the day, in order for us to get the results that we want, we got to go back to the basics, back to the basics. And it felt really, really good to go back to it, God. So thank you so much for the reminder. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your protection. Thank you for always being there for us. Thank you for eliminating people from our lives that are not supposed to be there. Thank you for just always being that helping hand every time we need you, God. Continue to protect us, continue to guide us, continue to clear us of all the things that are not benefiting us, any energies, any people, any emotions that don't align with our purpose. Continue to eliminate those from our body and from our aura and from our reality. Let's continue to grow. Let's continue to elevate. Let's master these basics. Let's go out there and have a productive day. And we love you so much and we appreciate you so much. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. 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 All right, guys. So if you guys want to learn the basics, if you guys want to learn this information, you can easily learn this information on YouTube. Just type in Your Wish is Your Command, part 1, part 2, part 3. I think Your Wish is Your Command, part 1 through 4 just talks all about the basics. So if you look up Your Wish is Your Command, a lot of the older videos that had hundreds and thousands of views have been taken down. They have them on Spotify as well. But the video I was listening to earlier only has 445 views. So a lot of this information has been taken down. They don't want people to know this information. Okay, so they have people who recorded it in the past, and I guess they just reposted it. So what I would say is do your best to find one that is solid, has good sound quality. But they have them on, I've heard people say that they have them on Spotify. They have them on Apple Music. I have all of them. You know, luckily for me, I was able to get not only, so let me tell you guys something if you don't know this. Your Wish is Your Command is only level 1 of the whole entire training when it comes to, you know, becoming the best version of yourself, right? That's only level 1. There are 5 levels. You have to become a level 5 learner, a level 5 individual. Okay. Your Wish is Your Command is only level 1. That's only level 1. Okay. After you go from Your Wish is Your Command, right? Then there's level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. This is by far some of the most powerful information. The thing is, I would share it with you guys, but I can't. That's the thing, which is sucks. I can't share it with you guys. Because the way they send it to me was they send it to me in a folder where I was the only one granted access. So if I'm sending it to somebody that doesn't have a granted access, right? I would have to talk to the main person to grant you access to it, because I've tried to share it with people and it doesn't allow them to open it. You know, and I've wanted to share this with people because I'm like, man, people need to know this information. So yeah, it's encrypted, and I've been chosen as one of the people that can have access to it because I know, you know, what it is. But let me actually show you guys really quick. Forgot his name. Man, I forgot his name. That's crazy. I'm having such a brain fart right now. It's not Adam. How did I forget his name? Is Natalie on this call? Natalie, are you on this call? Natalie. I forgot his name. Let me see if Natalie's on this call. If Natalie's on this call, she will help me. She'll tell me who it is. I just need to know if she's on. No, you here? Aaron, that's his name. Katie's here. There we go. So look, yeah. So yeah, look, I have these. I have the folders. I have all the folders, the GIN folders, right? But I can't. I've tried sharing them, right? I've tried sharing them, but they don't let me. Once I share them, they don't go through. But right, like for example, when you're done with level 2, right? Level 2 goes into how to create your. Let me see, how to create your own reality, basics, right? Level 3 is how eliminating, let me see, what's level 3? Level 3 is eliminating the stops and what is holding you back. Level 4 is the necessary skills of life. And then level 5 is turning yourself. There's so much stuff. Turning yourself into a success magnet is number 5. And there's so much stuff in here. Your wish is your command. But I have it. I'm gonna see if they could find a way where I can share it with you guys. But we have to find a way so I can share it with you guys because it's good information. Good information. Why is it taken down? It's they don't, bro. People pay 6 figures for this information, and if it's for free on YouTube, why would they pay 6 figures when it's for free on YouTube? So they got to take it down so it can have value. Because if people are paying 6 figures for it, and then they can go on YouTube and find out about it, it's not the same thing. So yeah, fam. So with that being said, we're done here. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a blessed rest of your day, fam. Enjoy.